the M&A analysis. Uh, I don't have enough experience in it to go into each and every one of those as thoughtfully as I might in the private fund sector. In the private fund sector with um, acquisitions or divestitures, there's a lot of other issues that come up that people not trained in those areas will make mistakes, are more likely to make mistakes, I would say. So having knowledge of the Investment Advisors Act or Investment Company Act in our field is really important. And because we now live in a more global world, so on average, people just don't stay in their neighborhoods unless you have like a grocery, right, a supermarket or a local business. You're taking calls from everywhere in the world. So you also need to know then globally what are the limitations, what you can or cannot do. And it's also managing your clients' expectations. It's, you know, one of the things I express to our prospective clients is I don't want to be commoditized. The same way they don't want to be commoditized. You reach out to me, it is reasonable for you to expect for us to return your call or your email or your text within 24 hours. If we don't, we're not honoring how I want to treat people. But I also expect the same in return from the people I work with. So it's hard when we're managing the client relationship because I think it's a mutual relationship. And while I'm in the service business, I won't be able to do my job well if the client's a black hole and they don't get back to us. And all that does is set us all up for risk. And the problem is the risk is high. If what we're doing involves 5 million, 10 million, as I just said, $500 million, somebody falls asleep that day and you cause damages to somebody of $50 to $100 million, are you going to be able to repay that debt? Probably not. Mm-hmm. So the stakes are very high, not just reputational, but economically.
I think this is a very passionate conversation. So I've been reading the book, Never Lose a Customer, and it talks about exactly what you're saying, that client relationship. How have you been able to navigate that over the years? Like, what's been the number one key thing for you to always keep that? Because, a lot of people are always looking at client acquisition, and it costs more to go outside than, to your current customers. And people often forget continuing to serve the people who, you've already been serving. And I love how you touched on that. So what have been ways that you've been able to continue to develop that relationship and continuously to serve your clients in those areas?
First and foremost is listen. It's like the old adage about real estate. What's the most important thing? Location, location, location. The most important thing if you're in the service business is listen, listen, listen. The second important thing is to not react off the hip, especially emotionally. When we make decisions that are emotionally based, or for me, any decision I've ever made where it's solely monetarily based, I've regretted. It's very hard. There's no one way to deal with clients. Many of our clients, I believe I enjoy a meaningful relationship with them. I care about them. I am responsive to all of them. I am thoughtful in my responses to all of them. If I don't have the answer for it, I know how to get the answer, and I give them an expectation of the timing of getting them the answer. The challenge is when we get commoditized. Happened a few weeks ago. I have a client happens to have a considerable amount of wealth. It was something that they kept putting off work we needed to do. The person tried to tell us what he was going to pay for it. We were like, that's not going to work. It's not like you name your prices, it's not Priceline.com. And we gave him a range of what the cost would be. We came in right in the middle of that range. The person kept reiterating that they only wanted to pay what they said they wanted to pay at the beginning. We said we never agreed to. It was hard not to react. And this is all going back and forth through email, which is also, email or text chain is a bad way to communicate a state of emotions. Because you read into it, and my thesis is, you read in what you're receiving in the emotion that you have, not necessarily in the emotion that was written. And so we ascribe that, which is not healthy. Every fiber of me wanted to respond and really be more critical of the correspondence going back and forth, because we've been nothing but forthright, And I haven't. It's resolved. I was upset with how the person handled it. I don't have to have closure on every issue. I'd like to, but I don't have to, and I think it's in the best interest of our firm to not respond any further and just accept it that that's how that person's wired, and they do not have an appreciation for what it is we do. But when you're in the service business, you don't know when people start moving around and going elsewhere. It happened even a few months ago. A client calls us up. They had a regulator reach out to them, and he sends me the fact pattern, and it makes no sense. We're the last thing we touched for this client. And I asked, by the way, have you been working with another lawyer since we last interacted? To no surprise, the answer was yes. So the lawyer did something, did not understand the impact of what they did. It resulted in a regulatory problem where the client initially, like this is the whole lifeguarding thing where it said where people are finger pointers and will do anything they can to blame others to survive, which is more likely than not how humans respond. So while it's not an ideal situation, we have to learn how to deal with it. And once we pointed out that his other work done was what triggered it, I was able to breathe a little bit more calm. I realized it wasn't something we did, and we have helped to remediate the problem. But that, I have a call tomorrow, same thing. Other clients go in and they find lesser expensive lawyers. And we're not expensive, we're middle of the market price, so we're very fair, especially for what we do. I just can't help when people make bad decisions, and you document it. Like, that's the hard part I don't like, is when people send you an email, having it, and often it's inaccurate, it's incorrect, making the record clear. And yes, it's very lawyer-like, but it's very business-like. It doesn't translate well in interpersonal relationships. I'm not trying to get the last word in, but that's a part of the job that I don't like. Whereas there's other clients that are not finger pointers because they've worked with you so long, they realize we're in it together.
It's a partnership.
And that's what it is. And if you don't have that partnership with whoever your service provider is, you're failing yourself. And most of those people that have that or that don't have that relationship, it's because they suffer from a disease where it's only about the money. And I can't change that. I'm not going to change it. I don't have the ability. So I can either not deal with them or tolerate it as long as it does not provide a big risk to our business.
You talked about not being a commoditized service. What do you mean by that?
Where it's people call up and they try to play let's make a deal, or they ask you for guidance and they don't realize you have to pull up documentation, not like even the law per se, but you have to pull up their documents, because how can I remember everybody's documents, especially when they're dozens of pages long? It takes time. It takes time and critical thought to get to answers in many of the situations. And they don't want to pay for that, some people. They just want to flip the answer. They just want to Google it and get a quick response. And those are the people who tend to end up in trouble. Whether it's today or 10 years from now, it increases your risk of something going wrong. So if you don't want to pay for the service, then you're probably not really going to be well served. And there's a saying, pay peanuts, you get monkeys. So I have service providers. I have an accountant. I have a wealth manager. I have doctors. I pay for the services. They deserve to earn a living. And if I'm not willing to do that, then I shouldn't trouble them.
What keeps you around your service providers? What do they do well?
They communicate. We establish a level of trust, a level of thoughtfulness. They don't all do it as well. If you can try and train the people you like on what your expectations are, and share those expectations and see if they acknowledge it and follow your expectations. But if not, finding the right vendors is hard. Like years ago, I wanted to become a better person, so the path for me was going to a therapist. Not every therapist is the right fit. Not every doctor is the right fit. So it's like, do I do a good job of communicating my expectations in a constructive way? is that person acknowledging it and trying to honor my expectations. So it's not always a right fit for everybody, and not just law, in anything we do. I'm sure there's people you've gone to that you've used, whether it's a tailor, your eyeglasses, right, your optometrist, all of those people. You're making thousands of decisions in the course of a lifetime on who to work with.
What establishes that trust for you? What in terms of the client side and even your providers, what gives you that feeling like I want to choose this person as a client and as a
Yeah, there's either the subject of what we're working on is very thoughtful and interesting, how they came to me, the relationship of how they got to me, or just the conversation that it's another person whose energy matches the energy and ethos of what we have here. And I just like them. There's people you meet you just like we met you electronically and we spoke. There's a nice energy that we share. There's a curiosity. So we make those decisions every day. And I sit there and say, there's some people I just don't want to stay late and work for. I'd rather go. My family's more important. If I'm only doing it for the money, I'm going to regret it.
Cool. Before we get out of here, I want to ask you a few just small questions. What time do you wake up every morning?
I generally wake up every morning at 6 a.m. no matter what time I go to sleep, unfortunately. There's days I wish I could sleep in, but I don't.
Why?
Well, I think it's healthier if I sleep a 7-hour day, but it's also like I rarely set an alarm. Yeah, I don't even, I'm trying to realize if I even set an alarm this morning.
So you just 6 a.m. You're just
Yeah, I don't think I didn't. Oh no, I did set an alarm. It did go off, but I was sort of laying in bed awake at about that time, and yeah, it's just I'm regimented.
Why do you think it's important to wake up early?
For me, I have a tough time not accomplishing things,
Mhm.
and I was just sharing this with one of my daughters. I'm learning how to allow myself to just do nothing. It doesn't come naturally to me because I guess I have fear that I'm wasting the day or I'm wasting time. And it's as they say, it's not the numbers on the side of the dash, right? When you were born and when you pass. It's about the dash and what you do in between. And that isn't just as a lawyer and a businessman. It's about, as you mentioned earlier, it's about being a father. It's about being a spouse or a partner to somebody. It's about being a friend. And that notion, especially as a friend, the older I get, the more challenged I find it because my expectations, I don't think actually have evolved. I'm sort of surprised. I have high expectations of what I expect from others. And if you're close to me, like I want that level of intimacy. And when you go back to the commoditization, you ask my clients, a lot of my clients I've had a lot of emotional intimacy with, where we know about each other's lives and our family situations and our professional situations. Like I know them for the humans that they are. And that's a gift. It's nice. Like there's so many clients I look forward to hearing from and I like working with, whether, hopefully we're doing good things, but also through the bad, where you're there to give somebody comfort and help shepherd them through, right? We tend to learn more about ourselves in our situations where we're suffering from a conflict, as opposed to just the good times. During the good times, we often don't question ourselves enough. So it's an amazing gift. Like when I did go to law school, I romanticized about becoming consigliere for our clients, where I was that trusted family member. And I guess that's what I've wanted with my friendships as well as what I've wanted in my professional relationships. Can't have them with everybody. It's reasonable to not expect that, which makes the ones that you have that relationship with even more rewarding. So no, I've been blessed. I have been really fortunate with the family I was born into, fortunate with the partners I have, fortunate with my family members, my children, with being born in the United States. Like I'm trying not to take anything for granted and appreciate that however hard I work, there's so many other people that work equally hard that haven't had the same fortune that I've had. So that appreciation is really, really important because I think it makes me happier. And at the end of the day, that's my goal in life. I want to make money. I want to help people. I want to be a great dad, and obviously a great dad and a great spouse or significant other. That would be at the top of my list. And great friend. But at the end of the day, I'm realizing I can't do that unless I'm also happy. And if I'm happy, it's like sort of when you're on a plane and that announcement comes over that if the mask deployed, put it on your face first and then on the person next to you.
Yeah, save yourself.
Yeah, because you can't help others if you don't help yourself. So there is real value in that lesson.
One of my last questions, what's it like running a business and how busy you are and the obsession that you have, and then also spending time with the family? Like for example, like I think about myself, I just can't help myself I'm always just on go and I'm working, and sometimes I actually incorporate it with my relationship, which is an advantage. But how do you deal with that being a father, running a family, and running a business which also takes so much of your time?
Yeah, so it's an art, not a science. I used to belong to a Young Presidents organization, and one of the common complaints was a balance of work and life. I generally do not believe that you can balance work and life, unfortunately. There's days where one's going to win over the other. When I was younger, this was a big part of more time was spent running the business than anything else. I was at my children's sporting events on weekends. I flew home early from events to make sure I didn't miss their birthdays. But I regret not even being there more Monday through Friday while I was in the office, like during the daylight hours. A lot of parents struggle with that. Also, I wish I had greater emotional, open, and balance and intimacy from my ex-wife. I could have been a better husband. I'm not saying I was a bad husband, but I could have been a better husband. And so looking backward, I'm focused on those things. But there's periods where this is going to take precedence over, and as it should, because my family benefits from all the things that come from this. But it comes at a sacrifice. And when I'm taking a phone call on a weekend, it comes at a sacrifice, not even of my time, but of my state of mind. It's hard to stay in a Zen-like state when you're dealing with conflict. But that's a forever conflict that I think we all face. And my children and anybody who I love knows that I love them, and knows that I love them without limit, and knows that if they need me, that I will be there for them. But this is a necessary sacrifice that I do. And if I'm going to do it, then I want to enjoy it. I don't want to just do it for the money. Like I said, going back to that thesis, any decision I've ever made just about the money, I've always regretted.
I think that is grounds to end this amazing interview, and there's so much more to talk about. But thank you so much for giving up your time.
Pleasure is mine. Thanks for having me. Thanks for really just having a great energy and curiosity. So I want to wish you the best of everything this world has to offer as well.
Thank you. And out of curiosity, what made you want to reply to my LinkedIn message when I first reached out to you?
It's one of those things I couldn't tell you why. I mean, the person who I now live with, I met on LinkedIn, funny enough, as well. So I'm agnostic to the path of how communication got to me, and I'd rather give more people the benefit of the doubt. And at times people assume that my naivete is made up, but it's the truth. I'd rather believe in the good of people than in the bad, and it goes back to you help others and keep an open mind and try and look at the positive of life. I know it sounds like all platitudes, but it really is. It's the most important thing I can do for me. Like I said, going back, I want to be happy, so I'm going to embrace as much as I can.
And here we are.
Exactly.
In the flesh, literally from a conversation on LinkedIn to here, and even you, a relationship. And that's why LinkedIn is such a powerful platform for me. Like, I'm here because LinkedIn, but also value in the message, right? Value being able to say, okay, how can I serve? Because I feel also it's a bit saturated where people I get messages all the time. It's like a war zone. No one personalizes anything. They just spray and pray, I guess, and it's like, which is good. It's a good thing in terms of it's very easy now to stand out because everyone just kind of does really the same thing. But when you have value and you think about it and maybe use AI to help you do that, which is sponsors also of this show, then it's similar to what you just said. You don't become commoditized.
It's just be yourself. It's care about things.
Care.
Yeah, just start looking around you, start questioning things, but be thoughtful and be open to opposing opinion. And even when you find that opinion threatening, deal with your fear, control it as best as you can. Try to become more aware of your patterns. It's hard with all we have too much, we have overload of contact. So we're in touch with more people, but we have less intimacy. So that we have intimacy with fewer people, even though we know more people. And there's some positive on some level getting to meet people, right? Like we would have never otherwise met. But taken too far, it's hard. Like finding, I don't know what the right balance is. No one knows. Anybody who suggests they know, I don't believe. It depends on the individual. It depends on the stage of life you're in. It's not one size fits all. But to walk around and sit there and say there are good people in the world, and if I can get into contact with more and more of those good people, like somebody on LinkedIn reached out who knows who I am reputationally and was surprised at some of the positions I've taken on LinkedIn because I became more of an advocate and I had fear of being canceled. I want us to live in a world of peace, a world of respect, and humankind should work together, and we embrace our differences to strengthen us, to change our perspective. But unfortunately, not everybody thinks that way. I'm going to play my game. I'm not playing their game. I'm not going to walk around and think everybody hates me. I'm not going to walk around, despite whatever insecurities I might feel, and allow that to quiet me down or put me in the corner. And I'm no different than you or anybody else probably watching or listening to this. And I would advocate, be the person you want it to be, and live the dream that you imagined, and believe in yourself, and be thoughtful of others.
I love it, and I love the way you've been brave about, you asked me that off camera, and I said, that's what makes you unique. Even like we talk sometimes about this whole topic of racism and all things like this, but one thing that you said is, you said something that we're all the same. Do you know now, I changed, I used to go with what the world used to talk about racism and things like that, and then I started to really look, and I'm like, has that ever happened to me personally? Like, are we just going off what everyone does? But what changed it is what you said. I walk into a building now and I don't see myself as a black person. I see myself as the same as everyone else. I see myself as a spirit. A spirit doesn't have a color. So that world doesn't exist to me. No, if you don't like me for who I am or for who my, okay, I stick to my tribe. And we live in a day and age where you can find your own tribe. So if you don't like me for who I am, that's not my problem. That's your problem.
I understand. And unfortunately, not everybody thinks the way we do. I like the diversity. I have like friends of every ethnicity, every race, national, wherever they might be born, sexuality, like whether they're straight, gay, trans, I don't care. I honestly, you're human. Are you doing things to make the world a better place? Are you a good person? Are you thoughtful? Or are you putting negativity out there? Like, I can't fix everybody at this stage. I don't want to fix everybody, but I want to surround myself with people who give a shit, people who are like-minded, people who believe in the positive. And I'm not that way 100% of the time. I'm human. I have my bad days no different than anybody else. I have my fears. I have my doubts. I have my feeling that I'm an imposter syndrome. All those things that go through my head. But the one thing I do really like about myself is my vulnerability and my honesty about that. And I wasn't always that way, and I've made mistakes, and I've not always treated everybody as well as I wanted to when I look at it. But hopefully that's a learning lesson. And the shame, the guilt, the embarrassment, I don't forgive myself enough, but I hold on to it because I use that as a driver to wanting to be a better person. And I would implore others to do that.
Awesome. I think we can end it there.
Sounds good. Thank
Thanks
you.
so much. What we'll do is can we ask one of the lovely ladies to take a photo of us?